first question. So you missed that. Yeah, he has to give the deal is that he gets the money, but in return he has to make 6 speeches. Okay. So why is the third wrong? It seems that in this comic version of the Victorian society, only middle classes care about morality, but not the lower or upper classes. The lower classes, they are free from morality. And then the upper classes, they transcend morality. Okay, they don't care. Okay. Yes, he becomes. These are the 2 major consequences that make him feel intimidated. He said that, I don't worry about making speeches. I'm good at language. Making speeches is not a big deal. Okay, but he has to get married, and that's something that concerns him. Okay, and also the relatives, the lawyers, the doctors, they all go after him for money, and that's another thing that bothers him. Okay. Okay, let's move on. So this is one slide from the PowerPoint lecture I gave. Basically, just to remind you of the differences between Doolittle's and Eliza. The way they get disclassed. Okay, like this is pagination. He gets £3,000 a year, but Eliza gets the education, but no money, no regular income. Later on, she gets supported. Like Pickering gives her money, gives a couple money, but that's not really something stable. At one point, Pickering gives them, I forgot, 5,000 or 500 pounds. I think 5,000 pounds for their honeymoon. So they use the money really stingily. So that they use it for a long time. Okay, but then still they run out of that money and they have to earn money. Okay. Also, talking about the use of slang, this is the issue that I think the other group will discuss about relapses and what the use of slangs mean. Okay, so I think I'll skip it for now. But indeed, both father and daughter, when they face Higgins, calls Higgins angry Higgins. But I think the father does it in anger, but the daughter will talk about later. And in the postscript, the father becomes extremely popular with the upper classes, while the daughter chooses to work and be independent. So there are a lot of aspects which set them in contrast to each other. Okay. Also, don't forget that her changes are self-motivated. Although at first she was outwitted, she doesn't know what it will involve, but she goes for it. But the father gets it accidentally because of a joke. Okay. Okay, so the second topic about creator versus self-made woman. And basically, for the whole play, you really should remember the roles different characters play in the changes of Eliza, which includes Higgins, Mrs. Pierce, Pickering, and Mrs. Higgins, and then Eliza herself. Okay. So, okay, quiz first. Okay, so did the group send the question to everyone, or you just know the good correct answer? Yeah, let's take a look. Number 4, when Eliza comes, the whole Act 5 shows Higgins, Pickering go to Mrs. Higgins desperately. They really are at a loss, and they don't know what to do because of the loss of Eliza. They even go to the police station. Okay, and then so when Eliza appears, the first thing Higgins says is, "Stop the fuss and go home with me," something like that. Okay, and then Eliza ignores him, and Eliza just talked to Higgins. So here, Higgins asked her to go home with them. Could be a reason for Eliza's ignoring Higgins, but the point is not Higgins asking her to go home, but Higgins being very impolite. I don't have time to quote him now, but he just gives command, something like go home with me or something like that. Very rude and direct and domineering, and that's why Eliza ignores him. And Eliza turns her attention, all of her attention, to Pickering, because Pickering is polite to her. Okay, so in her discussion with Pickering, she also says that, so from now on, I want you to call me Eliza, and I want Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle. And I think that this is different from Act 2. Act 2, when at one point, is that Act 2? Yeah, I think so. No, or Act 3. At one point, when Pickering calls Eliza, then Eliza said, aren't you going to call me Miss Doolittle? And she said that it feels genteel-like. Okay, so that shows that Eliza does care about how people address her, whether people respect her, etc. Okay, so number 2 is the correct answer, but it's nothing to do with the money they spend on her. Okay, it's to do with whether they show her respect. Okay. So the other group gives the question from the other perspective. I think the two questions are really two sides of the same coin. Okay. Yes, it should be number 2. Here in the beginning, the first part of their dialogue, Eliza says tells Pickering that you won't take off your boots in front of me. So that's something that Higgins does, but Pickering doesn't. And also, Eliza at one point said that I'm a squash cabbage leaf. So she's quoting Higgins to show that she does care about being called this way. Maybe in Act 1 and 2, she doesn't really fight against that, the wrong terms of address. But in Act 5, when she becomes a lady, she cares about how she's addressed and what people call her. Okay, and then he wants to see her damned. This is indeed what Higgins says. At the point when Eliza says, "Oh, you can call me Eliza," and Mr. Higgins should call me Miss Doolittle, and that's the point when Higgins says, "Let me show it to you." Yeah, page 99. Line 5. I should like Professor Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle. And then Higgins said, I'll see you damned first. And then Mrs. Higgins, Henry. And then Pickering, why don't you slam back at him? This means that you can use slam to fight against him. But Eliza then says, I'm like a newborn baby, arriving at a new world with a new language. So it's impossible for me to use the old language. And then right away, she has a relapse. Okay, so that's something we'll talk more about soon. Okay, any questions? Oh, the number 2, for one thing here, it's not mentioned. And later on, Eliza says, I don't mind, picking up slippers for you. I don't mind having a fight with you. I don't mind black eyes. I won't be passed over. So in other words, what Eliza wants, is proper respect, proper attention. Okay, so if she's given proper attention, she doesn't even mind fighting with Higgins. Okay, so for her, fighting does not mean definitely a lack of respect. Okay, let's move on. Yes, actually, I would say that when you read number 1, you would think that number 1 is the answer. Okay, but number 4 might get you to think twice. Okay, because this could show that Mrs. Higgins, is getting a solution for Eliza. So it's not the lack of support, lack of trust of Eliza. But actually, Mrs. Higgins' solution, saying that Mr. Doolittle can provide for Eliza, is no solution. Because it only shows how he does not understand the relation between the father and the daughter. Eliza would not want to go back to Mr. Doolittle, nor does Mr. Doolittle want to support her. Okay, there's no like traditional father-daughter relationship between them. Okay, yes. I also want to remind you how, although Pickering is all kind and gentle, in starting with Act 3, he gets more and more excited about the experiment. So he becomes more and more a convert of Higgins, a supporter of Higgins. And then it's kind of ridiculous from Mrs. Higgins' perspective. From our perspective, it seems to be natural to call the police. But in their society where propriety, good names, avoiding scandal are, important, Mrs. Higgins find they are calling the police to be unbelievable, as if they are trying to retrieve an umbrella from the police station, as if Eliza is their property. Okay, so it shows how calling the police is not a proper thing to do at that point. It means creating a scandal. And as a matter of fact, indeed, there is the tone of that, because when Pickering says that when the policemen ask them questions, they are suspicious of them, of their intention in keeping a woman at home. Okay, so all of that shows that this is not a proper thing to do. Okay, and then Pickering's asking, when Doolittle comes in, well dressed, the first thing Pickering asks is, oh, has Eliza been buying you clothes? So that again shows how Pickering does not understand Eliza. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so this is to remind you of Eliza's ways of transformation, and how in the sequel it shows that she has not made it completely. The self-transformation or the magical transformation by Higgins can never be like miraculously done in one day. It's a long process of changes and improvement and struggles, etc., etc. Okay, so in Act 5, Eliza has achieved, what she has achieved is like asserting herself. And in both Act 4 and Act 5, she finds some ways to fight back, to get Higgins angry. Okay, but later on you'll find out that she doesn't, in the sequel, she doesn't continue using the same way to fight back. Okay, and then in the sequel, she makes, according to Bernard Shaw, a wise choice of Freddie as the weak, as one who is weaker than her. But we'll talk more about that. Also, she goes to classes, etc. Okay, in the sequel, we see that she's still struggling because she needs financial support from Pickering, and then she is still attracted to Higgins. Okay, later we can talk about what kind of relations, what kind of emotions happening between the two of them. And then in her, the process of education, the formal education proves to be limited. Okay, because what she learns at school she cannot use in her floral shop, okay, etc. Okay, so all of that shows that education or transformation, really has to be a long procedure. It couldn't be just one miraculous moment. Yeah. I remember in Brother Coss's lecture, he asked a very good question, because Eliza says to Pickering that my real education happens when you call me Miss Doolittle. Okay, and then Brother Coss asked, you to think about your education, what real education means to you. And I think this is a really important question. And I only want to add to it and say that, real education cannot be just one moment. It should be something lifelong. It shouldn't be like something over and done with, and then you say, oh, that's something in the past. I don't need it anymore. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so the third issue, and I think we'll have the group report. I want you to talk about Eliza's comment. The difference between a lady and a flower girl is not how she behaves, but how she's treated. and the relapses Eliza and her father has, okay, to low-class manners.